What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to create a spiral tower in Revit. So I was just kind of searching the internet, looking at some nice pictures of architecture, and this one popped up and I thought, well, that looks really cool. Why not model it in Revit? You'll see I do this a lot. I see things that I like and then I see, well, how can I model that in Revit? And well, that's how we got here, and we have today's tutorial. Now, thinking about this building, I thought that there could be a couple of approaches to modeling something like this. One would be to actually create floors and then edit those floors and just kind of modifying sub-elements, editing the floors. So that would be one approach, but I already have a video where I explain that approach. So it's this video over here, and if you want to check it out, I'm just going to link it up in the cards above, so you can watch that video. However, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you a second approach, which would be by using massing. I think it's a different approach, and then you'll see which one is better and which one you might want to use for your own kind of future spirally projects. So that's the topic of today's video. Now, before we get started, I would just like to ask you to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com. So it's going to be the first link just below this video in the description, and then also up in the cards above. There I have many courses on Revit. I actually have 130 hours of content, well, more than 130 hours of content. And for example, one of my courses is a course on advanced modeling and building inside of the massing environment in Revit, where you can create all sorts of kind of complex shapes. So that's just one of the courses you can find there. And also on my website you can find some customized Revit templates. You can find some really high quality Revit families and also a plugin, so make sure to check it out. Okay, now without any further ado, let's jump straight into Revit. And as you can see, here I am in Revit, just at the home page. So what I'm going to do now is just go to models, to new, and for the template file, as I said, I have these customized Revit templates. If you want to check those out, I'm going to leave it up in the cards above. So anyways, I'm just going to pick out my let's just go with the architecture design template and click OK. So that's going to start up Revit. And here, let's open up the 3D view. Let's get rid of this starting view, and I just want to customize the levels first. So let's go to one of the elevations, for example, the south elevation. So I want my level 2 actually to be at 600 centimeters for this particular spiral tower. Then I just want to create a new level. So let's go here to levels, and then let's create another one again at 600 centimeters. So what I'm basically building here is kind of the frame for my my spiral tower, because it's kind of like a cylinder that's pinched in the middle. I'm just going to be creating that. So this is going to mark kind of the bottom, the top, and then that kind of inner kind of the narrowest part of that cylinder. So that's why I have these 3 levels. Okay, so once we have those 3 levels, now we can move forward. So what I'm going to do is just go here to massing and site, go to show mass. This is basically just going to turn on the mass visibility, and then go to in place mass. We can call it mass 1, that's perfectly fine. And now let's get started. So what you want to do is you want to build 3 circles. The top one and the bottom one are going to be the same size, and then obviously the middle one is going to be a little bit smaller. So let's just start. So just one circle, go to level 1, perfect, and then we can make it, I don't know, how big should it be? 600 centimeters. Let's try that, and then we'll see how it goes. It might be too big, I don't know. So anyways, what you want to do now, in order to copy it up, my favorite approach is to just select it, go here to copy to clipboard, then go to paste, and then you have the option to align to same place. So it's just going to duplicate those circles. See how they light up in orange, basically telling us that we have overlapping geometry? Well, we just duplicated it, but we still have the new one selected. So now what we can do is just go here to host and switch this to level 2. So the new one is going to jump up to level 2. So now we have them exactly one above the other. And then we can go again, paste, align to same place, and then just adjust this one to level 3. And then for the middle one, let's make this smaller. I don't know, 480. I guess that could work. Perhaps 450. Perfect. And then finally, to make the cylinder, you just select the whole thing. You go to create form, and there we go. We have that kind of cylindric form. Okay, so once we have this, now it's time to create our spiral ramp. Now I'm just going to be showing you kind of an oversimplified version, just in order to save on time. Obviously, if you want to do this, you're just going to add more points and just make it a little bit more kind of refined. So what I'm going to do now is go here to the draw panel, and then here you want to pick out spline through points. So this is just a 3D spline, and if you check on the drawn face, when you highlight this kind of curved half cylinder surface, well, you can actually host that point on that surface. So I can just come in here at the bottom, like so, and then just start building the spiral on that surface. So I can just go like this, all the way around. Just make sure that the surface highlights. Then when we switch to the other surface, just make sure that that one highlights. And then you can just continue going up like so. And then you can just kind of double check, is it in the correct place? It is. And then we're just going to continue, because you can see it's kind of going to be jumping around a little bit. And then you can just going to go all the way up. And there we go. So as I said, it's a little bit oversimplified. You can go to the modify tool to kind of finish that spline, and you can play around with individual points, so you can actually move them around. Just make sure not to jump the face, so it can only stay on this kind of half of the cylinder. So just on this, let's see, use the tab key. Yeah, so this point can only stay on this face, and then this point, for example, it can't move around just on that particular face and nowhere else. So that's basically how you place these points and create a spiral. As I said, I'm oversimplifying it, so it's kind of the spiral is a bit too steep for a ramp, but if you're doing this kind of for real, you would probably make it just a bit smaller and so on. So there we go. Okay, so once we have the spiral created, now it's time to turn it into a ramp. So you would turn this into a ramp by creating some profiles. So what you want to do is you want to go to the point element tool. Again, go here to drawn face, and then you just want to highlight, see how it can highlight the spline, and then you can just place it on the spline there. Hit the escape key a couple of times, and then we can zoom into that point, and actually can go set work plane and then pick out that particular point. Now, once I've done that, I can go here to the line tool. I can just make sure that it says drawn work plane, and then I can just start and create like a horizontal line here that's kind of marking the beginning of my ramp. And here, as you can see, it's 140 centimeters. Okay, perfect. So I have that line here. Now, if you select the point itself and the line, so just hold the control key, or you can just make a drag selection, you can actually just come in here to copy, make sure that multiple is checked on, and I'm just going to copy it just a bunch of times here. See, just like that. So just a bunch of these points, and they're going to be everywhere, which you'll see, but that's okay. That doesn't really matter at this point. So anyways, once we have all of these points with lines, if I select the point itself, it's going to allow me to pick out a new host. So when I go to pick new host, I can actually just come in here to the line and just click, and it's going to place that point and line on the spline, or on the path, the spiral path. And then you can just repeat that for the other ones. So select this one, pick new path, place it there, select this one. So just the points, you don't have to select the line. Place it there, pick this one, pick new host, place it, let's see, oopsie, there we go. Pick this one, pick new path. So it is a little bit repetitive, especially if you're doing this for kind of especially if you're doing this kind of for real and you want to be precise, it is going to take just a bunch of these, so just keep that in mind. There we go, we just need a few more. Okay, I've actually copied it the exact number of times that I need, which is kind of cool. Anyways, let's just place the final one here. And then, as I said, obviously, if you're doing this for real, you want to be precise, you would have more of these points for the spline itself, but then also all of these points with lines, you'd have more of them too. Okay, so once we have this created, now it's just time to adjust it, and I don't recommend adjusting it too perfectly, because what you'll see is Revit tends to mess it up when you connect it. So let me just demonstrate. So this one is okay. For this one, I can just straighten it a little bit. There we go. Just go around. Okay, this one can come up. There we go. So it's nothing's perfect. It's just kind of you just wanted to make it look okay. Let's see this one. Yeah, that's fine. So we're just kind of eyeballing it, making it just look okay. Let's go with this one. Perfect. And then this one. Perfect. And then finally this one. And we're done. Okay, I think we have all of them. Okay, now it's time to actually turn this kind of spline with these weird lines into an actual path. So let's do that. So you select the spline, you hold the control key, and then you just start adding these little line segments just all the way to the top of this cylinder. Perfect. And then you just go to create form, and it's going to create the form, and as I said, it's going to mess it up. See how it's kind of steep, kind of tilts down? That's perfectly fine. So you just hover over the edge of this spiral, or just make sure it kind of highlights the whole thing. So if it highlights just one of the lines, you can hit the tab key a few times until it says form element, and then you can select the entire form element. And then one of the cool things that we have here is the X-ray option. Actually, I talk about all of these tools here in that course that I've mentioned, the advanced modeling course. So if you want to learn more about these tools, you can find it there. But anyways, we have now X-rayed this, and now we actually have the ability to come in here and select individual points and then just adjust them. So this one should go down a little bit. Again, I'm not doing this perfectly because I'm just doing this as a little experiment. Obviously, if you're doing this on a real project, you would be a bit more precise. So I'm just kind of playing around with these gizmos. So this is called a gizmo. When you select a point and you get this thing with arrows, that's called a gizmo, and it's going to be a little bit weird at first when you try it, but you're going to develop a technique. So just play around with it a little bit. It's going to be a little bit annoying at first, but then once you get the hang of it, it's just basically a matter of moving these arrows around just to make it straight-ish in this case. So anyways, I have a few more, so let's do that here. A little bit towards the inside and then down. Perfect. So just a couple more. Okay, just one more and we should be done. What is this? Okay. As I said, it can be real weird how it stands. Okay, perfect. So I think we're done. So now I'm just going to select the whole thing again, and then you can uncheck the X-ray feature, and there we go. So now we have this spiral going all the way up. As you can see, it's way too steep, but I'm just oversimplifying it just for to have this tutorial not take forever. Then to create the exterior of this, you can just come in here. Oops, not that. So just like this, select the kind of this half cylinder. You can go to divide surface. You can then come in here and add a pattern. So I guess an rhomboid pattern would give us the result. You can play around with the numbering here. So let's try 8 for the U grid. Yeah, that's perhaps a little bit closer to what we have there. Let's try 6. Oops. 6. Yeah, I think this is kind of a bit closer to what we have there. And then you can actually create like a panel for this. So you would simply go here to File, New Family, and then you can create a new panel as a curtain panel pattern based. So I'm not going to do this now because it would just take extra time. I explained this in numerous tutorials, and then also I explained this in depth, kind of go slowly, step by step, all of the possibilities in that course that I've mentioned, the advanced mass modeling course. So I'm just going to leave that out for now. So anyways, we have our spiral, so we can now just hit finish, and there we go. Now in some cases I've noticed it gives me errors. So if you go here and you want to hit finish and it just gives you an error, just try to select one of these lines and then just try to kind of move it just a little bit. And then when you hit finish, it should work. So if it doesn't work right out of right out of the box, so you can just make just a tiny adjustment and then it tends to work. And then finally, to turn this into actual Revit geometry, you can just go here to masking and site. The floor isn't going to work because floors only work with horizontal surfaces. So floors are not going to work on spirals that have that are steep. So what you can do is use either a wall, or what I think makes more sense is a roof. I think it's kind of closer to the floor, so I'm just going to use that. And then let's go with a 20 centimeter one. Let's select the surface, create roof, and there we go. As you can see, we have that kind of spirally surface. Obviously it's not perfect, as I said. I'm just doing this as a slow kind of little experiment. If you want to do this, it's probably going to take a few hours to get it just right, but I think it's well worth the time if that's what your project requires. This was just kind of an explanation of the process and all of the steps that are included. If you want to get this particular project file or any of my other Revit project files, you can find those on my Patreon page, which I am going to link up just below this video in the description, and then also up in the cards above. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com, for more Revit courses. There I have over 120 hours of content, and I'm adding more each week. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and also I've added a video over there that might interest you as well.